5, Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975. This is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining annual notice of regular meetings on the Bulletin Board of Municipal Building, by mailing annual notice of regular meetings for 2020 to the News Record and Star Ledger December 2019, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk.
Mr. Adams.
Here.
Mr. Daffis.
Here.
Mr. DeLuca.
Here.
Mr. Lembrick.
Here.
Mayor McGehee.
Here.
Whereas chapter,
Go ahead, Liz.
whereas chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires that all meetings of public bodies be open to the public. And whereas section 7A provides that the governing body has a discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting. And whereas desire of the governing body to comply with the provision of this act, same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner, now therefore be it resolved, the Township Committee, the Township of Maplewood, does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in deliberations of the governing body by the public, and except as otherwise prescribed by law, does limit the public to the observation of the actions and discussions of the governing body at all of its regular and special meetings.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Daffis,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick,
Yes.
Mayor McGehee.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen. Before we get started, let's go ahead and quickly salute the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
United
of America,
States of America, and
and
to
to
the republic
for
for
which
which
it
it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
Under
under
God,
God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty.
liberty and
and
justice
justice for all. And just for a quick second, as many know, our community lost a great young person in Danny Ives. He was the owner of the Maplewood Bike Shed on Springfield Avenue. He was just 27 years young and really transcended generations. A lot of middle schoolers to people that he knew at Columbia High School, many people on his call who have children who are friends with him. Just a terrible loss for our community. So I just want to take a moment to recognize Danny's life. Thank you. So I'll now run through the agenda so everyone knows what we're going to be discussing this evening. So we have two proclamations on the agenda, one for the Hilton Neighborhood 25th anniversary, which is outstanding. The other proclamation is for Suicide Prevention Month. We'll quickly move into our first public comment. This will be agenda items only. Ms. Keisha Burnett is joining us this evening from the Essex County, and we'll be speaking on all things related to our relationship with the county. After we have our public comment, which includes Ms. Burnett, we'll move on to a total of 3 ordinances on final passage. We have one regarding procedures for the licensing of body art establishments, one for a right-of-way agreement with the Board of Ed, and then finally, the third one, a stop sign enforced Essex Road. At that point, we'll move on to our reports from departments. And I think this meeting, we don't have any reports, so we will quickly go through there. Then we'll hear from our administrative team. So we'll hear from Mr. Veros, our Township Administrator, Mr. Desiderio, our Township Attorney, and Ms. Fritzen, our Township Clerk. At that point, we'll hear reports from our elected officials. And then after we hear from our elected officials, then we will move on past the discussion items. We have no discussion items tonight, and we'll go on to our consent agenda. We have 16 items on our consent agenda, which include 3 licenses that we will approve, the authorization of affordability assistant grant regarding our affordable housing initiatives. We'll be awarding 4 contracts. We'll be authorizing refunds and payments. We'll be discussing the ABC, which is coming up after this meeting, and then we will approve our regular session minutes. After the consent agenda has been approved, we will move on to our second public comment on any subject matter. So if anyone wants to say anything at that point, you're welcome to have 3 minutes and 3 minutes only. And then we will adjourn and we will have our next meeting, which will be October 6th, 2020, but we'll move into our ABC meeting. So that is the agenda for tonight. And I'd now like to turn the floor over to Mr. DeLuca, who will read the proclamation for Hilton Neighborhood Association. Mr. DeLuca.
Thank you, Mayor. So this year, the Hilton Neighborhood Association is 25 years old. We have a resolution, which I'll read parts of it because it's quite long. Whereas it all began on Saturday afternoon, June 3rd, 1995, at the Hilton United Methodist Church, when nearly 100 residents came together to press township leaders to focus more attention and resources on the Hilton neighborhood. These residents wanted to stop the perceived practice of racial steering by realtors. They wanted more public funds spent on roads and parks in the neighborhood, and they wanted greater attention to the Springfield Avenue Business District. And whereas 3 people from the neighborhood, Linda Spurko, Mike Guerra, and Gail DePaul, were responsible for getting those residents together on that June day and planting the seeds for the Hilton Neighborhood Association. And whereas the association created a newsletter, wrote up organizational bylaws, established dues, and agreed to have a monthly meeting. And whereas I had the pleasure of being the first president in 1996, and I served there in 96 and 97 before being sworn in on the township committee in 1998. At that point, Linda Spurko became president. Gary Kaufman took over in 1999, and in 2000, Carol Buchanan became the president and served with distinction until her passing in 2019. Mary Boehner is the current Hilton Neighborhood Association president. And whereas one of the most important steps the Hilton Neighborhood Association took was to embrace the diversity and multicultural spirit of the community by deliberately being inclusive in their leadership team and with their programs and activities. Things that they've done over the years have been an international festival to celebrate music, cultural, and traditions of the neighborhood's diverse community, working with the East Hilton Neighborhood Preservation Project and sponsoring neighborhood festivals. Joining, one of the most important things that we did is, and Ms. Adam knows this, we joined with the College Hill Neighborhood Association and business and property owners in 1996 to create the Springfield Avenue Partnership. At the time, we felt the avenue was a dividing line in Maplewood, and we wanted to make it an inviting and viable commercial corridor. The Hilton Association instituted a Shop the Avenue 10% discount program, and they encouraged people from other parts of Maplewood to patronize Avenue businesses. Whereas, and all of us know this, the Hilton Neighborhood Association is a not to be missed candidates forum for Board of Education and Township Committee. It was one of the first organizations to have those forums, and started in 1996 with the Board of Education, and has been, as I said, a place that a lot of folks have gone to over the years to see who's running for office. Music and culture were always important for the association. One of the most exciting and entertaining things was the Performers Cafe, where the association highlighted local talent, doing music, song, poetry, and art, and displaying their artwork. Just to round out some of the folks who we stand on the shoulders with today, we just want to recognize again Linda, Mike, Gail, Gary, Carol, and others like Amy League, who started the chess club, Ro Reed, who actually was one of our first manager of the farmers market, John Harris, Al Brown, Charlie Leidig, Lori Kutosh, Andro Cantelmo, who started our newsletter, Jim Buchanan, of course, Maria Duraville, Joanne Beckeridge, and so many more. And today the leaders are Mary, Melissa, Kat, Rosalind, Abayo, Jeff, Sharon, Justina, John, Maureen, Suzanne, and Meredith. And whereas personally, I've had the honor of being involved in the association from the start and still serve on the executive committee. And I wouldn't be sitting in the seat I am now in the township committee without the Hilton Association being such a force in the community. And whereas this year, the celebrating of the 25th anniversary, a quarter of a century for the Hilton Neighborhood Association, the association members are recommitting themselves to working on what's best for the neighborhood and all of Maplewood. They are celebrating who they are and embracing one another as a mosaic that represents the real world. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Frank McGehee, Mayor, on behalf of the Township Committee of the Township of Maplewood, does hereby recognize and congratulate the Hilton Neighborhood Association's 25th anniversary and thanks them for having such a positive influence on the community.
Well deserved.
Indeed. Thank you, Mr. DeLuca. The Neighborhood Association is the blueprint for all neighborhood associations. So thank you, sir. We'll now move on to our second proclamation, which is on Suicide Prevention Month. Mr. Daffis.
Thank you, Mayor. September is known around the United States as National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and thank you for providing us the opportunity to raise awareness about an issue that affects all communities. It affects us right here in Maplewood, but is often still, despite all the work that we're doing to raise awareness, it is still clouded in secrecy and taboo and shame. September is known around the United States as National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and it's intended to help promote awareness surrounding each of the suicide prevention resources available to us and our community. The simple goal here is to learn how we help those around us and how we talk about suicide without increasing the risk of harm. Whereas suicidal thoughts can affect anyone, regardless of age, gender, race, orientation, income level, religion, or background. And whereas according to the CDC, each year, more than 41,000 people will die by suicide. And whereas suicide is the 10th leading cause of death among adults in the United States and the second leading cause of death among people aged 10 to 24. And whereas the Township of Maplewood is no different than any other community in the country, but chooses to publicly state and place our full support behind local educators, mental health professionals, athletic coaches, leaders, police officers, and parents as partners in supporting our community in being available to one another. And whereas local organizations like the New Jersey Mental Health Cares and national organizations like the National Alliance on Mental Illness are on the front lines of the battle that many still refuse to discuss in public, as suicide and mental illness remain too taboo a topic to speak on. And whereas every member of our community should understand that throughout life's struggles, we all need the occasional reminder that we are all silently fighting our own battles, especially right now during COVID. Whereas we encourage all residents to take the time to inquire about the well-being of our family, friends, and neighbors, and to genuinely convey our appreciation for them, for their existence. And by any gesture that we can, a simple phone call, a message, a handshake, a hug can go a very long way towards helping someone realize that they matter, that we care about them, that suicide is not the answer. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Deputy Mayor Dean Daffis, along with Mayor Frank McGehee, and on behalf of our colleagues of the Township Committee of Maplewood Township, we do hereby proclaim September 2020 Suicide Prevention Awareness Month in the Township and urge all residents to participate in suicide prevention awareness activities. Mayor, as you recall, a few of us got together last year with our public health department staff, and we raised over $10,000 for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. It was called the Out of Darkness event. It was a wonderful event. Obviously, due to COVID, we were not able to congregate and do that this year. But we are definitely committed to this issue. And thank you again for providing this opportunity to once again raise awareness.
Thank you, Mr. Daffis. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll now move on to our first public comment session. I think Mr. Waltz is in charge. Do we have anyone who wants to talk on any agenda item? Mr. Waltz.
I have no hands raised at the moment, Mr. Mayor.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Closing the public comment for the first round. Ms. Burnett, you have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. As you know, I am your Maplewood Municipal Liaison for Essex County. I am also the acting division head for the Division of Family Assistance and Benefits. I am also the Moore Keeper for the county. Welcome. I want to say I'm happy to be back. One of the things that I'd like to make you aware of, every Thursday, the county has a food distribution where the county exec is there personally loading up cars. And this Thursday, starting at 10 o'clock, it will be at Zion Hill Baptist Church, located at 1520 Osborne Terrace in Newark, New Jersey. The location varies from week to week. He tries to hit up every town. There is a flyer that has been developed because we know how important this presidential election is. So Essex County has ballot boxes with drop-off locations, and I will make sure that you get the flyers. In Maplewood, it's going to be at the Police Square on Springfield Avenue. And anything that you need, please feel free to contact me at my office at 862-327-1651. And my email is K as in kite, Burnett, BURNETT @DFAB, D as in David, F as in Frank, A as in Apple, B as in boy, .EssexCountyNJ.org. If there's any concerns that you have or questions, I'm here.
Ms. Burnett, thank you so much. We do appreciate the partnership that we have with you personally and with Mr. DeCenzo and also with Mr. Elijah. We appreciate having the testing we had last week and also having the opportunity to express our concerns on various situations, which Ms. Fritzen will elaborate on later in this meeting today. So thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Burnett? Hearing none. Ms. Burnett, you're welcome to stay, but if not, you can enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. Have a good time. See you October 6th.
See you October. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll now close our first public comment session. We'll now move on to a resolution. Ms. Fritzen.
Got it. Sorry about that, Mayor. I was muted.
No.
Resolution number 239-20. It's a resolution rejecting proposals from third-party power suppliers to provide energy generation service to Sustainable Essex Alliance Energy Procurement Cooperative, SEA EPC, Renewable Government Energy Aggregation, participants in PSE&G territory, and to provide government energy aggregation services in connection with the SEA EPC R-GEA program.
Thank you, Ms. Fritzen, for that definition there. Mr. DeLuca, would you like to move this, sir?
Yes, so I just wanted a little background. We, along with South Orange, Glen Ridge, Montclair, and Verona, participate in the Sustainable Essex Alliance Energy Pricing Cooperative to buy our electricity on behalf of our residents. We had a 17-month contract that is expiring in December. We went out to bid because you have to get a new contract. We received 4 price proposals today at noon. We looked at those, we compared those with the PSE&G rate, and the proposed prices from these 4 companies did not meet our criteria relative to the PSE&G rate. So our goal is to provide cheaper and greener electricity. We just could not, at this point, provide the cheaper electricity. So we are asking this resolution to be rejected. All the 4 bids will be rejected. I'm sorry, the resolution passes rejecting all 4 bids. And that the Sustainable Essex Alliance will continue to work together, and hopefully we'll be able to go out to bid again in the near future when the market is more favorable to what we're looking for. So I would move this resolution.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
I just think the public could use a clarification, Mr. DeLuca, about what happens to the last contract. Is it still carrying on at the last contract, or are they just back on PSE&G?
So the contract concludes in December. They will automatically, anyone on direct energy right now will be automatically shifted to PSE&G. There will be no charge for that. Customers have to do nothing. It's an automatic switch. So it will be just as if before direct energy, they'll get their electricity supply from PSE&G. It will be automatic. They will get a letter before December, a form letter from PSE&G informing them that direct energy is no longer providing their energy, their electric source. They need to take no action. Their electric will still flow into their home. They'll just be paying PSE&G for both the distribution, transmission, and the generation of electricity.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Fritzen, please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor McGehee?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen. We're now on to our first of three ordinance on final.
Mr. Mayor, item number 9, ordinance on final passage, ordinance number 3005-20. Is an ordinance to adopt procedures for the licensing of body art establishments within the township of Maplewood. This ordinance will adopt the New Jersey Administrative Code regarding the licensing of body art establishments.
This ordinance has been published, copies posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, copies made available to the general public in accordance with the law. Would anyone like to speak on, do we see anyone, Mr. Watson wants to speak on this procedure for licensing body art establishments?
No, Mayor.
Awesome. Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. May I get a motion, Mr. DeLuca? If he's there. Mr. DeLuca, would you like to move the ordinance on the licensing body art establishments, sir?
Yes, I'll do it again because I obviously just spoke to myself. I move this ordinance be adopted as a whole and the clerk be directed to publish the same as a passed ordinance in the Maplewood South Orange News Record according to law.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Fritzen, please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor McGehee?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen. We have our second ordinance on final.
Yes, Mayor. Item 10, ordinance on final passage, 3006-20. It's an ordinance to vacate a portion of the Essex Avenue right-of-way. This ordinance will vacate a portion of the Essex Avenue right-of-way that will be used by the South Orange Maplewood Board of Education as part of its development.
This ordinance has been published, copies posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies made available to the general public in accordance with the law. Mr. Walsh, do we see anyone who wants to speak on the Essex right-of-way to be leveraged by the Board of Ed as part of their development?
No, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. May I get a motion, Ms. Adams?
Yes, I move this ordinance be adopted as a whole and the clerk be directed to publish the same as a passed ordinance in the Maplewood South Orange News Record according to law.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Fritzen, please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor McGehee?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen. Our third and final ordinance on passage here, final passage.
Yes, Mayor, it's item number 11, ordinance on final passage, 3007-20. It's an ordinance to direct the installation of a stop sign on Forest Road at its intersection with Essex Road. This ordinance will direct the installation of a stop sign on Forest Road at its intersection with Essex Road.
This ordinance has been published, copies posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies made available to the general public in accordance with the law. Mr. Walsh, do we see anyone who would like to speak on this, the stop sign installation on Essex and Forester Road?
No, Mayor.
Thank you. Hearing none, we will close the public hearing. May I get a motion, Ms. Adams?
Sorry, just unmuting myself. I move this ordinance be adopted as a whole and the clerk be directed to publish the same as a passed ordinance in the Maplewood South Orange News Record according to law.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Fritzen, please call the roll.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Daffis,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Lembrick,
Yes.
Mayor McGehee.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen. We are now on agenda item number 12, reports from departments, but as noted, we don't have any reports for this particular meeting, so we'll move on to agenda item number 13, administrative reports. We'll lead off with our township administrator, Ms. Riveros. Ms. Riveros, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. First, Mayor, I just wanted to update the public and of course the Township Committee on the ongoing pool investigation. Again, it is ongoing. We're hoping to finish it within the next 2 to 3 weeks. I know there's some final interviews that were taking place. Again, I just wanted to reiterate to the community that we are reorganizing the entire pool division for the 2021 season. And first, we will be advertising in December for all of the positions. We're internally working on what the division would look like. We'll also, of course, have the input of the pool advisory committee, Mr. Lembrick, as the liaison, and then, of course, tee it off to the township committee for as a recommendation and what we're going to be establishing going in the 2021 season. Additionally, just wanted to let the community know that we hear their concerns. We heard it at the last meeting, and we are going to do our best to make sure that none of our youth, especially, and our township employees ever fear that there's a culture that is not worth coming towards. So that's something that we're going to absolutely address in the 2021 season and the forthcoming months. We have a lot of work to do. We're also working on some infrastructure over at the pool. They just started doing some staging over at the lot for the new filtration system. We're looking forward to doing that. So that's my report on the pool. Secondly, I'd just like to also report that the road improvement for 2020 is almost complete. There is a resolution on tonight that finishes off Burnett Street. So we're proud to say that we're on track to finishing the 2020 road improvements. Additionally, being part of a couple of the public discussions on traffic calming, there's a lot going to happen also with our consultant over on Prospect Street, among other intersections. I believe there's a total of 9 intersections that we're going to be addressing. And so we acknowledge and thank the public for their input. So that's forthcoming. And we have an engineering public works meeting tomorrow. So we'll go into at length with some of those. Third, we recently had a meeting with the Board of Education with the superintendent. So I'd like to thank and acknowledge their efforts in working with us to address the virtual and hybrid school year, if you will. So so we can coordinate, especially with the crossing guards, and how we're going to deploy our staff in order to help the school. So we're happy to collaborate on that. Additionally, also with the infrastructure, our building official is working with their architect, actively working right now on the plans. So I just want to let everybody know that even during COVID, we're working on those long-term projects. We're going to start working on the 2021 budget. Our department heads are going to be submitting by the end of October their recommended budgets, individual budgets, and then we're going to start on workshops in November and December. So if everybody could just be cognizant of their schedules, of course, I ask that everyone just be mindful. If we could Zooms work, we could do that too. So that's going to be forthcoming for the Township Committee and everyone else. And last, I would like to thank each one of the TC members for acknowledging our Employee Appreciation Day on Friday. It was very well received. I saw some of you go from building to building as I was, and our employees really do appreciate seeing all of the elected officials and acknowledging all of their work. So thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge also your presence in all of our buildings. So thank you. That's all I have. If anyone else has anything for me.
Thank you, Ms. Viveros. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Viveros? Hearing none, thank you for your report. Appreciate it. We'll now move on to Mr. Desiderio, our township attorney, for his report.
Mayor, I have no report this evening.
Understood. Any questions from Mr. Desiderio? Hearing none, thank you, Mr. Desiderio. We'll now move on to our township clerk, Ms. Fritz.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'll start off my report mostly about the upcoming presidential election. And I did want to report that this past Monday, representatives from Maplewood, including Mayor Frank McGehee, committee person Victor DeLuca, myself, and our master poll worker, Michelle Bobro, representing Maplewood, met with Essex County, the chief of staff, the county clerk, the clerk of the Board of Elections, and the commissioner and superintendent of registration. And we had approximately a 1 hour and 30-minute meeting, which Mayor McGehee arranged for, which was excellent. And basically, we covered all of Maplewood concerns that we had from the primary election, and expressed our interest in not having a lot of that be repeated and to have things be improved for the presidential election, which is, I believe it's exactly around 7 weeks away. So we had a series of 6 bullet points that I'm just not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to go over some of the important parts. The Township of Maplewood was able to secure 4 in-person voting sites. Again, it is a mostly vote by mail election, but we were able to get 4 polling sites. We had 3 in July, and we have 4 for November. And I can tell you that those locations are the Maplewood Community Center in Dehart Park, the municipal building, the Woodland, and we've added Clinton School. So those are confirmed. There are, we know the districts that are assigned. If you choose to go and vote provisional paper ballot at one of those locations, but the districts were pretty much randomly assigned back in July, and now they are geographically assigned and make a lot more sense to the voters' will. Then we have the commitment for our ballot box at the Maplewood Police and Court Building, 1618 Springfield Avenue. That's a definite, and that's going to be installed by our Public Works. It's going to be monitored by cameras, and Maplewood voters can drop their ballots in any Essex County box. Does not have to be the Maplewood box, but we now have the convenience for our voters that they do not have to leave Maplewood to drop their ballot if they choose to do that and not use the US mail. Election day at voting sites, voters will vote if they choose to by paper provisional ballots, and obviously there will be some machines, but they'll only be used for voters with certain disabilities can use a voting machine. Mail-in ballots, pretty important date. County clerk to send out ballots on Monday, September 28th. To over 530,000 voters in Essex County. And all voters will receive a ballot, and you don't have to do anything. If you are a registered voter that is not an inactive voter, you will receive a ballot. If the voter does not receive a ballot, they are more than welcome to go to the polls and vote provisional. Again, we have a lot of information. I'm just highlighting certain facts that we have. So the other thing, promotion and communication, the Essex County Clerk has prepared a 30-second public service announcement. It's already available because I know it is. I've seen it. It's on YouTube, and they're also preparing a fact sheet. And then National Voter Registration Day is Tuesday, September 22nd. And we have the clerk's office been preparing 2 flyers that make it easy for voters, not just loaded with a lot of words and sentences and paragraphs. And this is pretty much what the Township Committee's been viewing. There's been changes weekly, if not every couple of days, we've been keeping up with that. And then we also have another November 3rd general election information sheet. But again, not just loaded with sentences and words, pretty much bullet points to make it easier for voters to understand what they can do to vote. So again, we had a very, very great meeting with the county, and they were very receptive to us, answered every question that we had. And I would say that we're a step ahead of many other towns in Essex County because the County Clerks Association is putting together a meeting with the exact same people that we met by ourselves with. So I'm kind of don't want to let anybody know that we've already had our own meeting. It sounds like the Clerks Association, again, is putting together a meeting pretty much like we had as a private audience. So I'm going to move on to the next topic. If there's any questions, please let me know.
So, Ms. Fritzen, just want to remind you that also people on election day will be able to bring their mail-in ballot to the polls.
Absolutely. And no,
Want to talk about that?
and no, I didn't mention that part, but that is correct. And no ID is necessary. That was a change from what was initially said. But yes, Mr. DeLuca is absolutely correct that anyone can bring their ballot to any one of our Maplewood polling locations. Okay, thank you. So my other topic is follow-up from our last Township Committee meeting when we talked about jitney passes and the fact that the jitney will not be operating until the beginning of first of the year. So we have residents that are possibly resuming their work commute. And if you have a jitney pass, the Township Committee has made the decision that you could bring your jitney pass to the Township Clerk's office, and in exchange, at no cost, we will issue you a commuter parking permit. So we've had one person today take advantage of that, and we have some publicity to get out so that people know. And again, that's another flyer. Thank the assistant administrator for putting the flyer together. And my other item is just to state that part of the consent agenda, items 13 and 14 are kind of like jumping the gun. They will be entertained during the ABC meeting. So again, when you move the consent agenda, please eliminate 13 and 14 at this time. We'll deal with them later in the meeting.
Duly noted, Ms. Fritzen. Thank you. And does that conclude your report?
That concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Fritzen. Any questions for Ms. Fritzen?
I don't know if should be now or later, but if those who we've asked to come to ABC don't attend, what happens?
Well, we see at least one of them is so far attending.
Correct, but if anyone doesn't, what happens? Maybe Roger can answer that.
you continue to have your hearing and you make your decision based upon the information that you have. I mean, what we do is we give them a due process opportunity to address any issues that have been raised, but you would proceed to move accordingly and make your decision.
Okay, we can clarify it more during that hearing. Thanks.
Sure. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Thank you, Mr. Desiderio, and thank you, Ms. Fritzen. Any more questions? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 14, excuse me. Reports from elected officials. Mr. DeLuca, you have the floor.
Mayor, I have no report tonight.
Thank you, Mr. DeLuca. Mr. Limbrick, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a few items. First, it was great to see so many of our wonderful employees last week on Friday for Employee Appreciation Day. It was a pleasure for me to be able to go around to our different buildings and convey my appreciation in person to them. And I particularly want to thank Ms. Fritzen for her tremendous work in organizing the event this year. It was very different. Obviously, given COVID, we were not at the pool with everyone together. It was in 4 different locations, but there was food and an ice cream van, ice cream truck at all 4 locations. And it was a really nice event, and I want to commend Ms. Fritzen for her work on that. Reporting on issues relating to the Public Safety Committee. The general crime trends continue to be excellent in Maplewood. Violent crime in Maplewood remains in 2020 as it was in 2019 at a 30-year low. A trend that many of us find more concerning, however, has been a significant increase in the volume of handgun permit applications this year. Usually there's 100 or fewer per year on average. There were 83 in 2018. It was up to 140 last year. This year, there are already more than 300 handgun permit applications that have come through. It's really an overwhelming volume. Our police department has spent a lot of time on background checks. There's also been a lot of ID cards issued. New Jersey firearm ID cards, which are required to purchase any gun, including a shotgun or a rifle, as well as a handgun, or to buy firearm ammunition. There have been a lot of new ID cards issued this year, which means there's a lot of new gun owners, and we're keeping an eye on this. And for as much as New Jersey has some very strict gun control laws, I just want to emphasize, for the public that, recently New Jersey has made the application process. They've put more of it online, so it's become much simpler for people to apply for handgun permits, and that may be one of the reasons why we're seeing an increase. And obviously, we've speculated on some other reasons why there might be increases, and including some of the events this year, such as the pandemic and people perhaps having safety concerns. But this is something that the police department and the Public Safety Committee are keeping our eye on. But it is a trend that we've noticed. The fact that handgun applications for this year are already more than double what they were last year, which was a pretty high year historically. A report from the Community Board on Police. At the last meeting of the Community Board on Police earlier this month, there was a really outstanding and comprehensive report on traffic stop data presented by Kasia Pikars, who's one of the co-chairs of the Community Board on Police. I could not do it justice to summarize it here, but I do definitely recommend that anyone interested in looking at data about our traffic stops in Maplewood by our police department, look at the presentation, and that's available on the Community Board on Police page on the township website. Staying with police, the Township Committee will be conducting interviews 2 nights over the next week. We're in the process of promoting officers to vacancies in the lieutenant and sergeant positions. We have 2 vacancies for lieutenants and 3 for sergeants. So we'll be hopefully making a number of promotions in the coming weeks and months. And that process, like I said, is ongoing and culminating with some interviews over the course of the next week. Our fire chief, Weber, is working with the South Orange Fire Department Chief Sullivan to work on the details of the automatic response agreement between the Maplewood Fire Department and South Orange Fire Department that the Township Committee voted to endorse at our last meeting, and that the South Orange Board of Trustees voted to endorse at their meeting last night. So we look forward to the chiefs working out the details of that, and that should help our departments to coordinate and work together more effectively, and also make both communities safer by having more personnel show up at a fire more quickly and be able to work together more effectively. Finally, with the Public Safety Committee, Mayor McGehee, Village President Cullum, Trustee Collier, Aaron Scherzer, and Bobby Brown, who are respectively the co-chairs or chairs of the community boards on police in the 2 towns. And I met last week with representatives from the Essex County Prosecutor's Office, including the prosecutor, Mr. Stevens. We wanted to discuss some questions and concerns that our communities had regarding how police excessive force cases are investigated and handled by that office. And we were able to get some information. We're hoping to get more information. We've sent a follow-up letter to the prosecutor. And this is an issue that is obviously of great concern to our communities. And as we get more information, we'll be able to share more of that with the public. My final item is from the Recreation Advisory Committee, and that is just to report to the public and remind those who haven't yet submitted their survey that there is a survey ongoing regarding future projects in Maple Crest Park. That will be an important component courts, which have been dilapidated for a number of years now since Sandy. So please respond to that survey. If you haven't received the survey and want to participate, reach out to the Recreation Department to get a copy of the survey or to get a link to the survey. And we really hope that all of you will share your opinion about what you'd like to see for the future of Maple Crest Park. And Mr. Mayor, that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Limbrick. Mr. Daffis.
Thank you, Mayor. Had to unmute there. Sorry for the little brief delay. I do have a couple items I want to report out to the public. As the public knows, at our last public session, we voted down our introduced ADU ordinance, the accessory dwelling unit ordinance, but that doesn't mean that we're not committed to the concept. We're moving forward. I just wanted to tell the public that we scrapped the previous ordinance and we're reworking toward a better ordinance, especially after receiving the feedback from the community and from the planning board. Our new ordinance will be tighter, more detailed. While meeting our goals, it will address planning board concerns regarding zoning review controls and limitations in keeping with current building code and keeping with the character of our neighborhoods. Namely, we're considering rather dispensing with the senior restriction. It would apply to all within residential zones in Maplewood. It would be permitted use by right that follows the sale of the house or the dwelling unit. The ADU would not be for sale. The dwelling unit and the ADU would be one owner. The owner of the lot in which the ADU sits occupies either the principal dwelling unit or the ADU. It would make it clear that the ADU would remain subordinate to the principal dwelling unit. And we would specify certain physical limitations to the ADU with respect to size. We would write New Jersey's law against discrimination into the ordinance to prohibit against discrimination. And of course, we would underscore that the ADU would be subject to existing township code, building construction, and other. And more details on that as they materialize. We are going to look at it one more time in code with the new draft and bring it back to the governing body for discussion and introduction, hopefully next month. Regarding our Wi-Fi installation, our Wi-Fi pilot, the Wi-Fi committee met to discuss moving forward. We are getting closer to installing the first few families. This is a collaboration with the school district and their social workers who've been really great partners in being able to help us to penetrate into the households in the neighborhood that are typically hard to get to from the township. There is obviously suspicion and reservation against dealing with the township. What is this? Is there a quid pro quo? What's going on here? Nothing is for free. Why are you doing this kind of thing? But I'm delighted to share that we are moving forward. We've connected with some neighborhood advocates who know the residents there and the households, their neighbors themselves, and they can help us with these first installations. And then if we have to, we might consider an open network hotspot zones to further educate and help people feel comfortable about what we're trying to do here, which is bridging the digital divide and offering the opportunity for every student to have access to the internet, especially during distance learning during COVID. Our public health office and our code enforcement continue their fulsome inspection efforts as they pertain to social distancing and other COVID-19 public health directives as they relate to outdoor dining, indoor dining now that we have, and so on and so forth, and in our public parks and recreational facilities. It's a challenge, Mayor. As you know, this is a social contract that's difficult to enforce all the time. And certainly this is not something that has an end period. I mean, this is an exhausting thing that we're all going through. And there is fatigue out there. There's fatigue. People get a little bit lazy or tired about the masks. Certainly, there's some confusion out there too as we open up and phase in more openings with indoor dining and some of the events that we're now producing out there. People think that everything is okay. Everything is not okay. We are never returning to our previous reality or our previous normal, as we're calling it. The pandemic is here to stay with us for quite some time, and we will continue to reinforce our masking and social distancing directives. I too attended the employee appreciation event that, I want to applaud our township clerk, Liz Fritzen, also for her valiant efforts in producing an event that appreciated our wonderful employees despite the challenges. Yes, it was in different locations, so we did a little rotation in our visits, but it was worth it and well appreciated by employees and by us as the governing body members who had the opportunity to visit everyone and express our appreciation for their great work and commitment to the community. The Community Coalition on Race earlier this evening produced an informative workshop on foreclosures and evictions. They had La Casa Pedro from Newark with them, and I too participated in that workshop. We just want to send a message out there to our homeowners in town who might be experiencing some economic hardship due to the pandemic right now, and our tenants, that the eviction moratorium that Governor Murphy put into place back in March still remain in place. Residential tenants and homeowners are protected still against evictions and foreclosures in the state of New Jersey. So please reach out to us with any questions, and if you need help, certainly there's a lot of avenues for help. Lastly, I want to just highlight that we're celebrating and spreading awareness about Suicide Prevention Month, but it's also National Hispanic Heritage Month. And in New Jersey in particular, in Essex County in particular, we are really, really fortunate to have a robust and diverse Latino, Latinx community as our residents, our fellow neighbors. And we want to raise their visibility and their concerns, and we want to be good neighbors. And we especially, while we have 2 weeks left, just 15 days, as our county liaison reiterated earlier, to have our Latino neighbors be counted. If you're not counted today, you will not get funding tomorrow. So please be counted. You matter, you're important. And so do whatever you can. If someone is knocking on your door, if you haven't already filled out the census online, please answer that call and be counted. And finally, I think our township clerk and Mr. DeLuca covered this, but the deadline to register to vote for new voters in New Jersey is October 13th. And for the first time, you can vote online. So just go to the state election website and vote online, vote to register online, excuse me. And this is particularly pertinent to our college students who may be called away to their college campuses and haven't had the opportunity to fill out that form physically. They can do so online. And one last item, Mayor, and thank you, is that, as you know, the Maplewood Village Alliance, along with Maplewood's Historic Preservation Commission, hosted a town hall workshop with our property owners and residents, discussing the designation of Maplewood Village onto the National and State Historic Register of Historic Places. It was a great opportunity to answer some questions and to dispel some myths. That this is really an honorific designation, that there are some really great positive things from this, and that this will not necessarily automatically, and is not currently, a local designation tying up anyone's hands, private property owners, and any private property development. With that, I conclude my report, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daffis. Ms. Adams.
Yes, Mayor, I have the same report as Mr. DeLuca. I have no report.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Mr. Daffis touched on very many things. Only follow-up is the actual decision regarding historical status will be on Friday, October 2nd, 10 a.m. Down in Trenton. It's also a Zoom meeting. Also, the U.S. Census, as noted, we're only 2 weeks left. So please, this is a decision. These next 2 weeks will impact the next 10 years. So please be mindful, thoughtful, open those doors, go back online. Just please be counted, because every person counts for each other. It's a community thing. And finally, as Mr. Daffis discussed, as we continue to open up, with COVID, COVID's not going anywhere. So 2021 is not a magic date. COVID will be here in 2021. COVID will be here for the foreseeable future. How we handle COVID as a community will determine what we're able to do in the future. And this includes our schools and our youth. Over 60% of our cases since September 1st have been people of age in the 20s. So our numbers are skewing lower and lower, and we're recognizing that. Our health officer and health division are concerned. So we do understand the desire for a finite situation. COVID will be over on this date. COVID will be here. We're reopening this, so we're able to be more lax. Actually, the more that we reopen, the tighter you have to be and more disciplined you need to be with your facial coverings, because you'll be exposed to more people that you haven't been exposed to before. I can't stress that enough. So for those who think this is a joke, for those who don't want to wear facial coverings, there are residents in our town that are sent myself or colleagues emails every single day regarding activities, events, private organizations, private clubs, public clubs, block parties, the whole nine. So please just work with us and use your facial coverings, practice social distancing, abide by the rules with the opening of our restaurants, because all we need is for, one lapse because people are not being consistent. And we're going to take several steps back there. It's going to be so painful for everybody, physically, mentally, financially, and spiritually. So please, again, as we open up, tighten up and be diligent and be respectful to each other and use your facial coverings. Thank you so much. We'll now move on to
Mayor,
yes,
excuse me.
sir.
We had such a good ceremony on Sunday. Did you want to talk about the Black Lives Matter?
Yeah, thank you for that, Mr. DeLuca. Yeah, this past Sunday, and I want to recognize Anna, who runs our cultural affairs. We had an event recognizing our second piece of signage in the community where Black Lives Matter, and it's a street mural right outside 1618 as you enter into 1618 Springfield Avenue as you enter into our community. As we stated, people are very pleased with the position of the first mural on Valley Street, because it really sends a message to our youth, our high schoolers, especially of color, to know that they do matter as they're in that building and they're in, and around that campus. But this also is a message for those coming into our community and many who of color who live close to that signage, to understand that it does matter, that we matter in this community. And I just want to recognize Autumn Jones, who sang beautifully, Regina Bradshaw, who was amazing, our inspirational dancers who were great. We had poetry by local residents as well. It was just a phenomenal event. It was an event of love and fellowship. And afterwards, we all walked over. We had the street closed down for a little bit and took some great pictures, which I'm sure we'll get out to the greater public. But thank you, Mr. DeLuca. It was a wonderful event. I was happy to be there with all my colleagues to celebrate this great mural and accomplishment in our community. We'll now move on in our agenda. We are at agenda item number 15. And for the first time in my 4 years, there are no discussion items. So we'll just skip right over that. And now we'll head on to discussion to agenda item number 16. It's our consent agenda. I'm looking for a motion to approve items 1 through 12 and 15 and 16.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that we approve items 1 through 12 and 15 and 16 on the consent agenda.
Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Fritzen, please call the roll.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Daffis,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick,
Yes.
Mayor McGee.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen. We are now on agenda item number 17. It's our second and final public comment on any subject matter. Mr. Wallace, do we have anyone who would like to speak to the TC or bring up anything?
Mr. Mayor, you have no public comment.
Thank you. Hearing none, we'll close that part of the agenda. We'll now move on to our final agenda item, which is number 18, adjournment. May I get a motion?
So moved.
Awesome. All in favor?
Aye.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you, everyone. I will now convert over to our ABC. So I will yield the floor to Ms. Fritzen. We'll see everyone on October 6th.
Thank you, Mayor. This is going to be a meeting of the Maplewood local ABC. Let's start off first with a roll call, please. Ms. Adams,
Here.
Mr. Daffis,
Here.
Mr. DeLuca,
Here.
Lembrick,
Here.
Mayor McGee.
Here.
Okay, the first item, and you all have an agenda. It's going to be the item concerning St. James Gate Public House. You received an agenda yesterday, and if not, I'm going to go over it anyway. It's the St. James Gate Public House at 167 Maplewood Avenue, and it's plenary retail consumption liquor license 0711-33-003-011. And we'll be discussing tonight complaints received regarding the plenary retail consumption liquor license operated at St. James Gate Public House, 167 Maplewood Avenue, Maplewood, New Jersey. Specifically, social distancing complaints and violations during the pandemic. Indoor service at the bar when indoor dining was not permitted, violating executive orders. Violations of special COVID-19 outdoor cafe license directives, social distancing and facial coverings. And item 4, all staff is not wearing facial coverings, including the licensee.
Ms. Fritzen, I believe that Mr. Mead was trying to get online, as I understand it. I don't know if Glenn had the opportunity to help.
Send him the email. I'll just text him the phone number, dial in. That's in case he can't get on.
Okay. Thank you, Glenn.
Mr. Mayor, I have a point of order, just really a question I'd like to ask, whether it be Ms. Fritzen or Mr. Desiderio. Can I proceed with that?
Yes, you may, Mr. Lambert.
Thank you. Some of these violations, it seems, likely have been already, or at least will be adjudicated in our municipal court. Is that correct?
I don't know the answer to that, Mr. Lundberg. I don't know if summonses were issued, quite frankly.
Okay, but to the extent summonses were issued, that they would be adjudicated either already or at some point in the future at the municipal court level. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's not necessarily our job tonight to try to adjudicate these matters. It's really to address the concerns the community has brought forward to us with respect to these establishments. Is that basically the process that you would understand that as an ABC we should be undertaking?
Yes, that is correct. So what has happened, and this just happens to be coincidental, we have a renewal of the license that comes up at the end of September. And so these matters are coming before you, but you as the ABC do have the authority to regulate control of alcoholic beverage consumption and sale within your municipality. So yes, you're looking at it from a broader view. You're not looking at whether it's sustainable or not. That is for the court. That is correct.
And I guess then my question, and it's probably for you, Mr. Desiderio, is in terms of the ABC's authority to renew or not renew a liquor license, what is our discretion in that area? And sort of what is the standard we would have to find, or what will we have to find in order to justify not renewing a license holder?
Well, for non-renewal, you're gonna have to have a more formal hearing than this. Give the applicant an opportunity, the license holder an opportunity to bring counsel and set forth formal basis. But you can impose lesser penalties if you so choose. Okay, so you can suggest a suspension for a period of time or something like that. An actual taking of the license and a non-renewal, I think, would require a much more formal hearing, and I think would take a lot of time. It would more be in the process of a trial, quite frankly.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the clarification. I wasn't sure, if that was something that was on the table for tonight, and if it was, I just wanted to make sure that we understood, what the requirements were, what the legal provisions around that were. But if that's not what's before us tonight, then I guess we don't need to go into that at this point. So thank you, Mr. Desiderio.
Mr. Desiderio, I have a follow-up and clarification to that, if I may. Are you saying that that's off the table this evening, or if there was majority support for something like that, we would have to adjourn to another local ABC hearing on this matter?
I think what you just said is, you said it both ways. I think if the perception is to to not renew the license, then my recommendation would be that you would make that recommendation and that you would set a specific date certain, sort of like with an order to show cause to the applicant as to why the license should not be renewed. We have not done that. We have done this in the annual renewal process, which we have done all the time, bringing applicants in where there are issues to explain those issues and to offer some remedies possibly to those issues. So what I'm saying is, if it is in fact the majority who want to not renew this license, then I think we need to let this applicant know that they will be issued with a formal order to show cause on a date certain for a hearing with regard to that. I'm trying not to be evasive. Hopefully that answers your question.
It certainly does. Thank you very much.
I believe Glenn is working to get John on the webinar.
I'm on
Ms.
with his
Fritson,
son. He's walking him through it.
Should we just move on to the other
Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to suggest. If we wanted to move on to agenda items 3B and then maybe even 4 and come back to the gate, if that's okay, Ms. Fritson?
Correct, that'd be great.
I think that makes sense.
Perfect, let's do it. Thank you.
The next item for the local ABC's consideration is KV Liquors, 1830-40 Springfield Avenue, Maplewood, New Jersey, plenary retail distribution license number 071144-002-004. This is complaints received regarding the plenary retail distribution license operated at KV Liquors, 1830-40 Springfield Avenue, Maplewood, New Jersey. Item number 1, display board inside front window facing Springfield Avenue. Promotional materials installed in haphazard way and not like licensee testified at planning board as to how he would display the items on the display board. Item 2, commitment required that property in front displays will be maintained properly was not testified at hearings. I believe that Mr. Reddy is with us on the line.
Yes.
Is it the intention?
Mr. Reddy,
Local
Mr.
ABCs?
Reddy, you've heard Ms. Fritson read to you the issues that are before you. Would you like to address those issues before you get questions from the committee?
Sure. So
Do we swear in our witnesses on these or no? I thought I remembered them being sworn in.
Not for this portion.
So yeah, those displays, what you guys saw on those windows for those couple of days, those are temporary displays. The real ones were actually ordered. Those are custom made. So due to the pandemic, it's getting delayed in making process. So that's why as soon as I got that notice from the township, I removed it. As I said, those are like temporary cardboard stuff. So right now, I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have passed it. I mean, from the past 1 week, the whole window is empty and I'm waiting for the ones which we ordered. I mean, I can just show you one sample, what we ordered. I can share the screen, 1 second. Share screen, all right. Okay, are you guys able to see my screen?
No. Oh, there we go.
Now?
Yes.
All right. So this is one of the display which we ordered. Again, probably it will take another month. These are the real barrels. I mean, the front 3 ones are the real barrels, and the back one is like a wallpaper. So to like an accent wallpaper.
Does that cover the entire window or what is?
No, it cover, I mean, approximately I have like 6 to 7 windows in the front. This will cover at least half of it. The other half of it, probably it will be in the same range, which I'm still talking to the designers. They're coming up with new ideas. Nothing is finalized again, but this one has been finalized, and we have ordered it and it's in making.
And how so it takes up about half the window. Is it at the bottom? Is it leaning up on the glass? I think,
Oh, no. Nothing will be leaning at the glass. Basically, I have built a separate shadow box kind of a center for the windows. I have around like 6 windows, not one window, 6 windows, which is facing on the Springfield Avenue. This will cover approximately around 3 windows. So everything will be on the floor, nothing on the windows. So windows will be clear, and all those windows will be having like a spotlights on these barrels, like an accent lighting, soft lighting.
I would just ask that you ensure that you're in compliance with our code for window covering, what's permitted to be covered, and also to make sure you get some work in conjunction with the Springfield Avenue Partnership.
Sure. I've been working with Nicole on this pretty closely. So I've been taking every suggestion or advice from them, from the whole department. But as I said again, those were the cardboard stuff. Those were the temporary stuff which we just put in instead of a blank windows. We just put in as a temporary stuff. As soon as I got a notice, I immediately took them out.
So, Mr. Reddy, this is Vic DeLuca. I was in there a couple of times when we spoke, and Nicole and I were in there, and we spoke to the designer and saw this design, which is very nice. This is not on the window; it's back from the window. So you're not going to have anything affixed to the window, correct?
No, the windows will be clear.
Okay.
This will be inside, actually inside the store. So the windows will be clear.
Right. So the reason we're making a big thing about this is because it's an important property on Springfield Avenue. It's been vacant for such a long time and an eyesore. And when you came before us, both at the Township Committee and at the Planning Board, we did focus on this, and you represented that you were going to bring in high-end displays here. So, and I've been in your store, and you have made that store look very, very nice. You've done exceptional work inside. It's incredible how you've changed it and made it an attractive place to shop. And I think the caliber of what you did inside has to be reflected on the outside. So that's what we're looking for.
So definitely, Mr. DeLuca, we have been working, as I said, there is approximately 20 to 25% work still left. The work has been delayed due to pandemic, and all this stuff has to be done custom made because the people has to come and take the measurements, and then we have to go and make all that stuff. So that's why it's getting a little delay, but definitely, as I promised earlier, this will be one of the good looking properties on Springfield Avenue when I'm all done.
That works for me.
Agreed. Any more questions for Mr. Reddy on this?
Now, I'd just like to echo what Mr. DeLuca said on, it's not, it may sound like picky and silly, but a lot of people, including Mr. DeLuca and I, have worked for a couple decades now on Springfield Avenue, trying to improve it and make it desirable, and appearance goes a long, long way. So I appreciate your work on doing it on the higher end level, and I think that'll be good for your business as well.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing this. I mean, it gives us a better perspective of what to look at. It's kind of like Macy's or Marshall Fields when you kind of have those window displays. Now I can conceptualize what you're trying to do here. So that's good. Thank you. Mr. Daffis or Mr. Limbrick, any questions, thoughts, concerns?
None from me, Mr. Mayor.
None
Okay.
for me either, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fritzen.
If there are no other questions, Mrs. Fritzen, do you have a resolution to renew this license?
Yes, I do. And it's resolution number 241-20. And it is the renewal for KV Liquors for the 2021 plenary retail distribution license term.
I move it.
Second.
Ms. Adams?
We'll come back to her.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor McGehee?
Yes, she's back.
Adams?
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Yes.
Awesome.
Okay, so this license will be renewed prior to September 30th.
Thank you.
Okay, and now, with Ms. Fritzen, now we have something else with this licensee, correct?
That's correct. The next item is the change of corporate structure for KV Liquors. Change in corporate structure for the property address at 1830-1840 Springfield Avenue, Maplewood, New Jersey. Liquor license number 071144000204. The person or entity that will hold an interest in this license are KV Liquors and Janaki Dugarala from 393 Martinsville Road, Basking Ridge, New Jersey. The applicant has in all respects complied with the requirements and statutes of New Jersey. The applicant has complied with the ordinances of the Township of Maplewood. The applicant has published intention of this change of corporate structure in the Maplewood South Orange News Record on May 7th, 2020 and May 14th, 2020. And I received no objections in writing as Township Clerk / Secretary through local ABC. So again,
Can we determine if there's anyone in the audience who wishes to voice an opinion with regard to this?
I have no one in the audience who currently wishes to speak.
Okay. Mr. Reedy, are you going to testify?
Yes.
Okay, would you raise your right hand, please? I know this is a little unusual, but we're going to do it. Okay, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, would you explain to the committee what the basis of this is and who's acquiring an interest and how this all came about?
All right. All this came about again due to pandemic. We have been incurred a lot of expenses which we didn't count it last year. So that's why, due to this pandemic, as I said, the financial situation has become a little weak for one of my owner. So that's why, in order to move this project moving forward, so another interesting person, again, she's also one of our family member. She was, she's interested in buying some interest in this business.
Okay. And Ms. Fritzen, the police have done all the normal checks, et cetera, and there were no objections, correct? Nothing was raised that would create an issue? Okay. Members of the committee, if there are questions, this would be the time. If there are none, can we entertain a motion to allow the modification as set forth by Ms. Fritzen?
Move.
Move it.
Second.
Let me just add for the record that that's resolution number 242-20, which is the change in corporate structure for KV Liquors LLC. Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor McGee?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes our hearing with KV Liquors. So thank you, Mr. Reedy, for coming tonight.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you. We'll see you soon. Thank you, Ms. Reedy.
Thank you.
Mayor, I don't know if Mr. Mead has joined us.
He appears to be on the screen.
Is he there? I believe that he may even be trying to do this from a tangible perspective. That's my understanding through external communications. And his son might be looking to get online as well. Glenn, any update?
It looks like he's here at the meeting. You just have to unmute yourself there, John.
Okay, good.
Can you unmute him, Glenn?
I can ask him to unmute, but I can't physically unmute him.
I'm talking to Mr. Mead right now. I'm trying to help him out. Give me 1 second.
Hello?
Hey,
Hello.
there you go. Perfect.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear him? Can you hear John?
I think so.
Still showing muted on my end, John.
I think Mr. McGee, he has him on the phone, but he's muted now, so.
Hey, hey, Glenn.
Yes.
Glenn, is the meeting ID this 914-205-6099?
Let me pull up his unique ID.
I can hear him on this, but not very well.
Yeah, he's on the phone with me. So I'm gonna mute myself. Sorry.
He's unmuted now.
So the meeting ID is 914-641-3066. Oh, here we go. Looks like we've got Johnny there. Oh, we just had him. I saw his audio connect and then disconnect.
He's just muted because everybody comes in muted, so he might be there.
No, I meant the one that's already here. I saw him unmuting.
Glenn, can we call him into the meeting at this point? Is there a way to call his number?
Let me call Junior, and he can patch his, if he clicks the microphone, there's a switch to phone audio and it'll prompt him. So let me just do that. I'm gonna call you.
Okay, I'm gonna mute myself.
John, you look unmuted. Are you there?
He is unmuted. I just don't hear anything.
Correct.
So John, instead of trying to call you, if you see that little microphone symbol, there's a little up caret. If you click it, it'll say switch to phone audio, and then it will prompt you with instructions to dial in if you're having trouble. I can also share my screen. Can you see that? Do you see the phone instructions on the screen? Try that again.
Hello, can you hear us? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Thank you. God almighty. This is great. Sorry for the delay. I'm a computer idiot. I'm 75 years old and the computer age passed me by. So that's what you get.
Okay.
Let's go. What do we got to do here?
Ms. Fritzen, you have the floor.
Welcome, Mr. Mead. So
Hi, Liz.
this is a Maplewood local ABC hearing concerning St. James Gate Public House, 167 Maplewood Avenue, Maplewood, New Jersey, plenary retail consumption liquor license 0711-33003-011. And it's complaints received regarding the plenary retail consumption liquor license operated at St. James Gate Public House, 167 Maplewood Avenue, Maplewood, New Jersey. Specifically, item 1, social distancing complaints and violations during the pandemic. Indoor service at the bar when indoor dining was not permitted, violating executive orders. Item 3, violations of special COVID-19 outdoor cafe license directives, social distancing and facial coverings. And item 4, all staff is not wearing facial coverings, including the licensee. That's what the local ABC is here to discuss this evening.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, Mr. Mead, if you, it's Roger Desiderio. If you would, please,
Hi, Roger.
would you like to, how are you, sir? Would you like to address any of those items before they
Well, I
ask
don't
you
know
questions?
I don't know when they happened or who said these things happened or what time did it happen and how many, I'm not here every day at every moment, but I mean, who report? I just don't understand. When I got that notice, I wasn't in town and I thought it was a general meeting. I didn't know it was a meeting just for me, which is unfortunate, but I don't know any of the incidents and I don't know I don't know how to defend myself, and I don't even know when these things happened or where they happened or how many times they happened or who said they happened and are there witnesses or there photographs or something. I mean, I don't know.
I'm bewildered here. I don't. We've been trying to do everything. I've bought more masks for people to give out, more of the liquid the little things to give out. I bought over 2,000 of these. We're having 2,000 of these. Here's my thing to get temperatures for everybody. I'm trying to do everything I can to do it the right way. I've got my wife's a nurse. I worry about her. I've got 5 kids. One's a policeman. 2 are special ed teachers. I'm worried about them. I'm worried about my eight grandchildren. They're going to school. Can they? It's a big problem. Plus, I probably lost about $1 million in the last 6 months. But I'm not going to complain. Everybody's got a problem here and there. I'm just trying to survive. So unless I know when this happened, I don't know how to really answer any of those questions. But I'll keep trying. I have signs all over. I have, sanitizers all over. I have masks all over. I don't know. We've donated $5,000 to Flag to give meals to nurses and doctors at Beth Israel. I've delivered over a couple hundred dinners down there myself. We're also, I don't know what else to tell you. That's very, very good. But we're trying to do our best. And it's not like going to the dollar store and you go in and you get a cheap mask for Halloween. You come to a bar, you want to sit down, you want to talk to people, you want to converse, you want to have a good time. It's a little different. So it makes it very difficult to keep people separated at all times. And most of those things where people were inside were people picking up dinners to go or drinks to go, which helped us a little bit at the time when we could only, for 90 days, we could only do takeout, so we didn't make any money at all then. Now that you were so gracious to give us the outside dining in the street, it's been wonderful. It's really helped me survive. I'm doing about maybe 20, 30%. The 25% indoors is complete. It's nothing. It's not doing any good at all. Nobody's going to come in here for a long time, especially people with kids, which I do a lot of business with. So, I'm just trying to hang on. So give me some details on what I did, and I'll try and never do them again whenever it happens. I don't know when it happened, but, let me know. And I'll what do you want me to do? I don't understand.
So thank you, Mr. Mead, for being here. I'm glad we were able to solve the technical issues. I think, and I'll speak for myself, and let my colleagues, obviously voice what they want to say as well. I think one of the things that would be reassuring to me personally is, first, I appreciate you recognizing that that there were some concerns and violations, but your willingness to acknowledge them and to work with your team, your staff, your sons to, on these 4 points to say, okay, we recognize that there were some things that didn't go great. However, we're going to put together a plan and implement that to make sure they don't happen moving forward. I think that reassurance would be helpful to me personally and maybe for my colleagues as well to know that, we know you're not going to be there. You have businesses, you're a busy person, totally understand that. But knowing that you as the leader will disseminate that message and that directive down to all the way down to everyone on your staff, so that they're clear on the importance of wearing facial coverings at all times. That they're clear on making sure that our patrons are doing it, and if they need assistance, you can call the police. That's what they're there for. To ensure that these things are followed. As we're taking this obviously seriously. I think that message, hearing that resonating from you, will be helpful for me personally. So those are my comments. So.
Well, I personally know that everybody in here wears a mask, except the people that are cooking. They don't have to wear a mask, according to what one of the governor's, edicts or whatever. As far as calling the police, the last 2 times we called the police was because we closed and people were outside, and we called the police to tell those people to go home. Other than that, I don't know when the police have ever been here, to tell you the truth. The health department's been here a few times, many times, and they just gave us a very good recommendation. They said we did terrific work and everything is satisfactory, which is the highest thing you can have from the health department. And any time that I talked to them, they were very satisfied with what we were doing and the signs we had up and the masks that everybody had on and everything else. So no one ever said from the health department that we're doing anything wrong. So whoever were these anonymous people that may have called or talked, I've had a few people outside who are, you know, a little over the top, but I don't know. I better stop talking. So I don't know.
So, Mr. Mead,
I'm sorry if these things happened. They won't happen again. As far as you know, me and my sons, you know, we're trying to survive here. This is a family business. Been here for 18 years. We're served over 2 million people. You know, there's been a few complaints here and there, and God help us. You know, we're not perfect, but we're all in this together, right? Right. So I'm, you know, I'm doing my best, and I'll try even harder. Okay. I don't know what else to tell you.
yeah, I think, Mr. Mead, this is Nancy Adams. How are you?
Hi, Nancy.
Hi. I think what I heard Mayor McGehee say was that he, and I agree with him, we both, at least speaking for the two of us, need a definite reassurance from you that the staff and the directives of your staff will be to follow all of these directives of mask wearing and distancing and ensuring that your customers are doing the same thing and trying your, you know, you and your staff and your sons and everything, if everybody is working really hard to ensure the safety of not just your patrons, but people who are downtown. I think that's what I'm hearing the mayor say he wants, and that would go a long way for me as well to try to, you know, basically work together, as you said, to keep everyone safe. So that means when you're there, you have to wear a mask. That means when your bartenders are outside, they need to wear a mask. That means when your patrons or your regulars are by a high top, if they need to stay away from each other while, you know, far enough away while they're eating and stuff, and wear a mask when they're not. And so I think that's the kind of thing people are seeing. I've seen some of it myself, but I'm not one of the complaints that's listed here. But I think they're, I don't think all of these are just anonymous and unfounded. I just think it's a wake-up call and an alert for you guys to really take that part of it super seriously, and when you're not there, so that you can rest easy knowing that the people working at the bar and restaurant are there to enforce what you've directed them to enforce.
Absolutely, I totally agree with that, and that's what we thought we were doing a good job, but you know, I don't know. Okay, so
it's not easy.
I will do better. I know it's not easy. It really isn't easy, but we're doing, you know, with distancing people. I mean, I tell people to leave if they don't distance themselves. Tell people if they want to go to the bathroom, they have to wear a mask.
Right.
You know, I take everybody's temperature every morning, make sure that they're not sick. You know, I don't know. So I mean, I'm every time we get it, you know, we've gotten so many directives, emails and faxes, you know, and things change every day, as you know, in this country. I mean,
yeah,
it's a lot of confusion. I guess I was a little confused too. So just hoping that we can get through this together. All right.
So this is Vic DeLuca. I have a little bit I have a little different take on this, Mr. Mead. You know, we've had the outdoor cafes now for 90 days, and you got your business was cited a couple of times by our code people back in June. We've got police reports about social distancing. I've seen it myself. I've seen people, you know, the thing is, you're not just using the parklet, you're using the sidewalk too. And that's a pedestrian sidewalk. And people have had to walk by people without masks. There are people walking around there drinking. They're supposed to be sitting at tables. You sit out there. I don't see you wearing a mask when you're out there, sitting out there. I am concerned about approving another year here. I just don't see it. I hear you saying, and I appreciate your comments, and I appreciate your contributions to this the community. But we have a serious situation here, and we're trying to work with all the restaurants, and it seems that the complaints are zeroing in on your restaurant and your bar, and that troubles
who's
me,
complaining.
and I'm just not comfortable moving forward. I think we should take a pause here and maybe do a little course correction on our part, as opposed to wait for you to tell us that you're going to do better. So I'm thinking more of the stick than the carrot.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that means, but yeah, I thought we were doing very well. If you look at our seating outside, it's spaced so far apart, and I don't want to throw anybody else under the bus, but I have seen other restaurants where they're not that far apart. But it's not, that's none of my business. But mine are, and I thought that was a good thing to do. And I thought we've done a lot of good things. But, some people go over and talk to other people. If you're sitting outside all alone and there's no one around, is it absolutely the law that you have to wear a mask?
If you're on the sidewalk and people are walking by, yes. If you're sitting on the sidewalk, which is a public conveyance, and you're there without a mask, that's a problem.
75% of the people that walk by do not have a mask on. So I'm just wondering. All right, I'm not going to argue with this. You're right. I'll wear a mask. Hold on. I got it right now. It's around my neck. It always is. I can put this mask up in 2 seconds. Boom, boom, up, down. I do it all the time. I do it all day. I wear this all the time, every day.
I guess I'll go next. Hey, John, this is Dean. How are you?
Hey, Dean. How you doing?
I'm good. It's good to have you with us tonight. And thanks for making yourself available here. I know this is really uncomfortable. It's not fun for us either. You're a longstanding business in this community. You're beloved. You're important to the success of our village. And as you know, I've been a customer as well, as have my colleagues. So, this is really not fun for any of us, and I recognize what you're talking about. I mean, this has been a really tough time for our small businesses, especially for a bar, where, like you said earlier, it's really tough to separate people. When you go to a bar, you want to be close to people, you want to talk, you want to have a drink, and this whole social distancing thing is really, really hard to practice. So I get it. I'm the son of a small business. I grew up in a diner, and I get how hard it is to make ends meet during regular times, not just during this crazy time. So I just want you to know that I think that all of us appreciate what you're going through right now too. But I think that as a professional who's been in this business for a really long time, you also recognize that as someone who is serving the public, you also have a duty beyond profit to ensure the public safety. And I know that we've gone over together, you and I in particular, all of these rules, which, like you said, have been changing daily, weekly. It's been crazy. But, you remember that Frank and I and yourself and Coda and Lorena's got on a special call together to talk about some of the concerns we heard about you and some of the social distancing issues. Don't you remember that call?
Yes, I do.
Right. And you also remember that you and me, we also had a couple of calls with the MVA where Deb Yohannan, our village manager, she put together a couple of calls to go over some of these directives that were coming down because of the public health pandemic. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
Right, right. So this is not something that just happened yesterday. It's been going on for, a few months now. And I think you would agree, I think you would accept in all fairness that as the leader of the establishment, right? Of course you can't be there all the time. Of course you're not going to know everything that happens. But you yourself, maybe when you were out there on the sidewalk and with people greeting patrons, you didn't always necessarily wear a mask, right?
If I was close to them, yes, I did. If I was socially
I've seen
distanced
you.
to 6 feet, I did not. Usually, no. You're right.
Yeah,
You're right. You're
John,
right.
it's all good. Look, John, we have to be honest with each other so we can move forward here. And I've seen you without a mask out there. It's tough, right?
I'm not denying that I didn't wear a mask. I know I didn't wear a mask. Usually when no one was around and no one was going by or nothing was happening. But
right. That's fair.
whatever, I don't know, whatever you saw, you saw. I
Yeah,
can't tell you
yeah,
what you saw. You saw what you saw.
That's fine, John. That's fine. I mean, I think we just want to be fair here and meet each other halfway at least. And you would also
Absolutely.
agree, and you would also agree, wouldn't you, that, there have been times when the patrons who are drinking were not at a high top or at a table having food, but they were sort of spilling over into the sidewalk and by the mailbox there, by the nail salon, wouldn't you say?
Yes, absolutely. And I remember that distinctly. And that was happening a lot. And I went out and told those guys, under no circumstances can you leave the sides of the building at all. And as far as I've known, anytime I've seen anybody out there, no one has done that since we talked about it. And
right.
It happened at 12 o'clock at night. I don't know. Somebody might wander down to the end of the block. I don't know.
Right.
But as far as I know, anybody I've seen now, no one does that. And they were doing that. And I agree with you. I told them you have to sit down. You have to be within the boundaries of the premises. And so far, anytime I've ever been out there, or if I poked my head out or went by, that has been the case. So, whatever you say, I'm trying to work with you, and I'm doing my best, and I'll do better. I'll speak to the people again, which they all know. Everyone in here wears a mask all the time. Unless I drink a lot of water because my doctor told me to drink a lot of water, so I may have my mask off. Sometimes when someone may poke their head in and see me without a mask on, but it's usually because I'm drinking a glass of water. But that's beside the point, I guess.
Right. So John, I appreciate you accepting that there have been some challenges, and you and your establishment haven't always done the right thing here. Ultimately, as the licensee, you're responsible, right? Even when you don't know that these things are happening. And I also appreciate you being very about you.
I am responsible, yes.
Right. You are ultimately responsible. And that's what this is about tonight. But, personally for me, I think the biggest concern that I have, the real concern for me are the reports that we received from your patrons. These are your regular customers who love your business, right? And they wanted to support you during the lockdown, and they came and they did takeout. And while they were picking up takeout, they noticed people being serviced inside the bar, which was really clearly in violation of all of the orders. I mean, we were in a lockdown at that point. This is before outdoor dining.
Those people were waiting for their things to go. That's all. It's the only time they were in here for. Sometimes they got the wrong order. Sometimes they had to wait. You know, I mean, sometimes they went to the bathroom and came back. I mean, I don't know. These are loyal customers of mine that called you and told you that people were in there eating and drinking. You know, I find that hard to believe, but it's it doesn't happen. I mean, I'm here 8-10 hours a day. It doesn't happen.
Right. So John, these are people who didn't call us actually.
Okay.
They didn't want to do that actually because they're your loyal customers, and they didn't. And because of the pandemic, they
How
didn't
did you
wanna-
find out about it?
It was on social media. They posted about it on
Social media. Oh, I'm not on social media, so I know a lot of people get on there and talk about a lot of different things.
Right.
I
But
don't know.
these are several.
In
But
fairness-
let me finish, John, and hang on, Nance. So yeah, these are your local patrons who came by to pick up takeout, and they noticed that people were being served at the bar. They weren't just waiting inside, which also, by the way, was a violation, right? Because you were not supposed to go inside at that point. We were in a lockdown. But also they were having drinks. And that to me is really deeply concerning, John, because it really, really jeopardized the public health. I mean, we've had 26 deaths in Maplewood, right? And, you know, that's significant for a little town like ours. Those are our brothers and sisters and moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas. And to know that one of our businesses was doing that in direct defiance of the order is really, really very disappointing for me. I mean, what do you have to say about that?
I am very, very disappointed also, and I have never seen that with all the times I've been here. I've never seen that, ever.
So
I've never seen it.
Right.
Never.
So,
Never seen it.
so you've never.
But I'm not disputing that it could have happened. It could have happened. But now people are allowed to come in and have a drink. So that's, thankfully, and by the way, that 25%, hardly anybody comes in. Hardly anybody comes in for dinner. I think we've had, in the 10 days we've had it, maybe we've had 10 couples come in to eat. People do come to the bar, though, and have a drink. That's what they miss the most. But, we're trying to go by the rules, and if we did things in the past, I'm sorry for it, and it shouldn't have happened, and it won't happen anymore, and I'm doing whatever you want me to do, I'll do. Just tell me what else I have to do. I'll wear a mask outside, even though, I mean, I hate to bother you with this. I'm a prime candidate for this code of 19. I mean, I'm 75 years old. I weigh 300 pounds. I'm on all sorts of medicine. I have a breathing problem, which I have to take a test next week because it really irritates me when I have a mask on. I get a little dizzy, and the doctor suggested that maybe if I don't have, there's no social. If I have social distancing or whatever, I really don't need to have a mask. When I go into someplace, the supermarket, or get a bagel chateau in the morning or something, I always wear a mask. You can ask any of those people. I always have a mask on. With respect for them, because it says on the door, wear a mask. The same with my place. I have all the rules from the health department right on the front door. Wear a mask. You have to go to the bathroom, you have to wear a mask. You have to sit down and you can't come up to the bar and order a drink. You have to ask the waiter. All those rules, 5 or 6, 7, I don't know how many rules there are, keep changing. But I'm really upset about this, and I'm doing the best I can. That's all I can say. You know, I got to go home. I got to go to bed. I'm exhausted. This has put me over the edge. I'm struggling to survive here. God almighty. That's all I have to say. I don't know what else to say.
Roger? Roger?
Yes,
So,
Yes.
can you lead us as to where we go from here?
well, there's, I mean, there's going to be a resolution that Mr. Riston will be to renew the license, or if you want to impose any, like I said, it's coincidental that this is with the license renewal. You can bring the applicant in at any time if there are violations. So if in mid-January you choose to bring someone in because of violations, you can do that. You can also, if you choose, you can seek to impose additional restrictions or penalties, etc. All right. But for right now, Mrs. Fritzen is going to have a resolution that you can vote up or down, and that is the renewal of the license to begin on, I guess it's October 1st, Ms. Fritzen, or September 30 for the next coming year.
October
That
1st.
does not October 1st. That does not prevent you from A, putting additional restrictions, or B, having the licensee in 30 days or 60 days, okay, to see if compliance has been taken care of. Those are all your options. You have great flexibility as the ABC. All right? Owning a liquor license is a privilege, not a right.
Okay, so if we can bring a licensee in, I mean, we can, in my mind, I wouldn't mind basically doing what you just said. Holding off and extending the license for another month, and then seeing that Mr. Mead and his whole business is run better, to knowing that what our concerns are. I'm hesitant to rely on anything that's not an official report to police that includes social media. But I do know that I think we've all witnessed our share of different things, but I'm not willing to pull the rug out from any business owner without giving them a chance to rectify some of their the issues that we have pointed out. So I would make a motion to either renew the license now and then have the option to bring them in at any time, as you say, or if my colleagues prefer, I would make a motion to ask Mr. Mead to come back at the first meeting in November and, work to abate a lot of these issues that he's been notified about this evening, and have our code enforcement and health department monitor it more closely.
So just a point of order, Mr. Desiderio, can we renew this for less than a year?
The answer is, I think not. Okay, I think you have to renew it for the year, but you can suspend it during the course of that year if you so choose. So if you want to have the licensee back in 30 or 60 days, okay, and then you determine to suspend it for whatever reason, I'm not suggesting that is what you should do. Okay, you have the right to do that. But I think the renewal has to be for a year. Mrs. Fritzen, would you agree with that?
I would agree, and I would just, if I could just give a little more information before you make any decision, it would be imperative for Mr. Mead to continue to operate. I heard November 1st, bring him back in from one local ABC member. But it would be pretty imperative to make a decision tonight whether or not you're going to renew this for 2021. You can certainly bring him back in 3 months' time or 1 month's time to see how things are going. But otherwise, this license is, in his operation, will expire on September 30th. And then going forward, at that point, he'd have to get what's called an ad interim permit, which would be, again, at your discretion, whether or not you want to do that. And that would operate for a week or two. But
Okay,
We need to
we
decide
So
tonight.
can I
We
just
got
want to, I'm not in favor of renewing it for a year, because I have some serious concerns. I'm willing to consider what Ms. Adams is talking about, is vote to renew it, but bringing him back here, I would give 30 days and monitor that. And then we can decide at that point whether a suspension is in order if the thing is not followed, or some other kind of penalty. But I think we need to have it, make it very clear with some, and that's why I said carrot and a stick. I think we need to make it very clear that there's a consequence if things don't tighten up there at the gate.
I support that.
Someone to make the motion?
Mr. Mayor, can I?
Yes, Mr. Limbrick.
Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to vote to renew the license. You know, I agree that we can have Mr. Mead in if concerns continue. I think, in my view, you know, and just my view on the law regarding these liquor license situations is that, you know, to the extent there's violations regarding social distancing or other issues that don't specifically impact the license, but deal with, could equally apply to any store or restaurant. I don't think that gives us a justification to use the liquor license as a carrot or a stick. I think that's an overreach on our part. I think that there's no alleged violations with respect to abusing the license, serving people who were overserved, people who were underage. I think, we can always call the licensee back in, but I don't think it's appropriate for this committee or this ABC to take that sort of approach with the license. I'm going to vote to renew and hopefully vote to renew with none of these conditions, other than obviously our right to call the licensee back before the ABC at any point to address violations. But I think the proper place to address these violations, the ones that have been reported to the police or code enforcement, is through the municipal courts. And the proper place to address what's been reported on social media is probably on social media.
I just want to add something to
Thank
that.
you, Mr. Limbrick.
Mr. Mayor, may I add something to that? Okay, Mr. Mayor, sorry, I was muted, you were muted. I just want to say that one of the complaints here relates to the license itself. It really does. Part of the outdoor permit process was a special expansion of the existing liquor license into the outdoors. But there was a very direct and explicit directive that said you could not serve customers beyond the borders of the outdoor cafe. And everybody received the application and the guidelines and attestation form regarding that. And one of the things that we know that our code enforcement found and our public health observed is that, and we talked about tonight, I certainly covered this with John, he and I together, was that there were times when customers were being served beyond the premises of the outdoor cafe. They were being served on a sidewalk, they were being served near the corner, and that is directly related to the license. So I don't think that this—
Can I just interject one thing? Thank you very much. But no one was serving anyone. If they had something, they might have walked down to the corner, which we couldn't stop them. Actually, if you buy a drink to go home, you can walk down the street with a beer and walk 3 blocks to your house, and nobody can say anything. These people got their order within the limits of the place, and if they chose to walk down there, we told them not to, and we told them, and they're not doing it anymore, then they did it on their own. We didn't go down there and serve them.
Sure. I appreciate that, John. I didn't mean to insinuate that you serve them on a corner. I'm just saying that
Oh, okay.
that is directly related to the license, to the liquor consumption.
Of course.
license that we're
And
talking-
I totally agree. And we corrected that also, thanks to your help.
So I
Thank
think,
you, Mr. Daffis. Ms. Adams.
yeah, no, I was just gonna say, Mary, that I think we have a motion to renew the license. So I'll make that motion.
So, okay, this would be my suggestion, if I may. I would suggest that you entertain this motion and you vote on it, and thereafter, if there are going to be specific conditions, or if you want the applicant, the licensee rather, to reappear, that you give them those instructions immediately thereafter.
Okay, so I make a motion to renew.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Resolution number 240-20 for the record, and that's renewing the American Irish Pub concept trading as St. James Gate Public House for the 2021 plenary retail consumption license renewal year. I'm going to take a roll call.
Please, Ms. Fritzen, thank you.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Daffis,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick,
Yes.
Mayor McGee.
Yes,
License is renewed.
yes. Now.
I have a
further
motion.
discussion. Yes,
I have a-
Mr. Luca, you have the floor.
Yeah, I would move that the ABC review the outdoor and indoor operation of St. James Gate in the next 45 days and have the licensee come in for a hearing in the first meeting in November.
I second it.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Fritzen, can you please call the roll?
Adams,
Yes.
Daffis,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick,
No.
Mayor McGee.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen.
Passes 4-1.
Thank you, Mr. Mead, for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Mr. Mead, it's Roger Desiderio again. You understood what they did here, right? Is there any questions?
Yes, I certainly do understand that.
Okay, so between now and that first meeting in November, was November what, 6th? Did I hear that?
I think so.
After the
Let me check
election.
the count. Yep,
Okay, all right.
It's the
So-
day after,
all right.
no? It's the 4th?
4th.
There's
November
one
4th.
guy
Okay,
who wins, I
4th.
won't be here.
Well, then your designee better be there because that's the date.
yeah, one of your sons.
No, it's a little joke,
Hey, you'll have-
a little levity there.
Okay,
All right.
okay, very good. Thank you. Okay,
Thank you for
bye.
levity, too.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Liz. Thank you,
Move to
everybody.
adjourn.
Okay, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
You know how I get off my screen?
All right.
Okay, good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
all.
everyone.